Hi, I'm Tom Bowling, and I want to share a great idea with you to use up some of these scraps and bits and pieces that often go unused, or you can do these in advance and have them ready to go. I'm going to show you how to make a floral collar to go onto your hand-tied bouquet. What I'm going to start with is a ribbon flange. That's the cardboard part of each end of a bolt of ribbon. And you can do this with a number 9 flange, or in this case, I'm going to use a number 40. So what I want to do is to start with by just taking and cutting a couple darts into the cardboard itself, because otherwise it's going to push and not going to slide onto the stems of your bouquet. So I've got these little darts cut in there. I'm not bending them, cutting them out, anything along that line. So to begin with, what I want to use is the liquid floral adhesive. And I'm going to cover the entire surface of my ribbon flange with the liquid floral adhesive. And it's real important to know how to work with the adhesive, because as you can see, it has a very shiny quality to it, which means it's pretty fresh. So that's fine. And I'm going to take these pieces of the eucalyptus garland and just lay those right into the wet liquid floral adhesive, as you can see. Now we have to remember that whatever if you want the top of looking at the leaves, you can either do them upside down or right side up. I'm going to do these so this will actually slide right down on, and you'll see that in just a minute. All right, so I have my stems arranged, but that's not much surface to come in contact with the liquid floral adhesive. So what I want to do now is to take some leftover leaves that I've had from previous projects. If you like, you can take the back of them off, take the rib out, or I'm just going to go right onto it, it's okay, and glue all of my leaves. And if you're not familiar with working with the liquid floral adhesive, you'll find out that this works better if you put a glue surface to a glue surface. It gives it a stronger bond, because if you just try to put liquid floral adhesive on this and lay it on something, it just kind of slides around. So again, preparing my leaves here, and you'll notice the whole time that I'm doing this adhesive that I originally put on the flange is actually starting to dry. So it's going to come together quite nicely. All right, so we'll see what that's about. Now you also will notice that I don't let that glue lay on its side, because then it all oozes out and you lose so much of it. And it's not an inexpensive product, but also too, you just want to have good working habits. So I've just taken the cardboard, cut the two cardboard in half, glued the two together, made a stand, and it works out absolutely perfect to hold my adhesive. All right, so here we go. Now I'm going to take the green leaves that I prepared and put a layer of those in place, and it's going to cover up the flange, the white part of the flange. And I love this because it's recapturing and reclaiming what normally either would have been lost product, or, you know, thrown in a trash can, or worse, thrown in the drawer, in the box, in the whatever, and never get used. So now I've got this in place. I'm going to hold that up so you can get an idea what it looks like. Kind of tap those into place. And you can see what I've made here so far. However, there's that less than attractive backside. So what we did on the front, we can do on the opposite side as well. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you is that, you know, a lot of people can make these in their spare time. So if you have a transportation engineer or someone on your staff that has a few extra minutes, they can help you out. So, you know, let them go ahead, teach people how to help and how to create bits and pieces and parts. And you know, everybody has a contribution at that point. You know, a designer doesn't necessarily have to do this particular exercise, although they could. There's nothing wrong with that. Bottom line, involve a lot of people. All right, so what we did on the front, we're going to do on the opposite side. Prepare my leaves, and I want to make sure that I'm keeping my glue clean at the top. And if you need to, just wipe it off. And the best way to keep the cap from sticking, because I know those people, you know, you go, oh, I don't like to use that because it sticks all over. Take a little bit of plant shine of some kind or some Vaseline, anything with an oil base, wipe it on, spray it on, whatever, spray it in the cap. And then when you put the two together, they will always come apart. It's just a little trick for you there to help extend the usage of your glue. All right, so my leaves are beginning to set up. And I'm arranging those in a radial pattern, meaning they all come out like the sun's rays. Doing an overlap. But again, every leaf is creating a radial pattern coming out this way. How many do you use? Bottom line, it just depends on the amount of surface that you need to cover. So if you're doing a permanent wedding, and there are a lot of people, especially now with the challenge of doing a ceremony at one point in time and then maybe doing the celebration at another point in time, explore that option of doing permanent wedding floral bouquets, because that way then they can still use that bouquet and you know, celebrate one time with the ceremony, another time with the party as well. So let's take a look at what we've done. All right, so that's the one side. That's the opposite side. I can set that over to the side. And by the way, these eucalyptus leaves came off of that garland that you saw me use in some of the other videos. So I'm tying all of these components together. And if you look, I already have my bouquet almost assembled because I have all of the pieces and parts together. So I'm going to separate those out. This is the bush that we've used earlier. And when you see a bush, it has a plug at the bottom where all the stems radiate from, which is fine. And I've left that on at this point. You can easily just, you know, cut those off if you wanted to. There we go. I'm going to leave those because I want the length. I may end up needing that in a previous from the previous project. Here's some of the garland that I've added with wires to prepare those. Separating out all of the product here. Moving the price tags. And really, when we look at permanent material, you'll notice that there's a lot of preparation to it. It's just not grab it out of the box and go. So in reality, I recommend that we work at a slightly higher price point as far as the labor is concerned. Now you go, Tom, I'm not sure what labor is. Well, the easiest way to define labor is it is the charge that you assess your customer to assemble raw goods, all these pieces and parts, raw goods. You assess a charge to assemble them into a finished component. You go, wow, that sounds like a mouthful. Let's break it down. Labor is the charge that you pass along to assemble raw goods into a finished component. Finished component could be an arrangement. Finished component could be a bouquet. Finished component could be a number of different things. But whatever it happens to be, you're getting paid to assemble those pieces and parts. Think of it like when you're doing maybe a planter, all right? That's real easy, and we all have made numerous planters before. All right, so you take all these plants And part of it is you are selling your knowledge of how to put pieces and parts that go together, not only physically, but visually. And, you know, okay, this one is a succulent, it doesn't need much water. This one is, you know, a peace lily, it needs a lot more water. But that's your expertise, and you're getting paid for your expertise. And that's exactly what we're doing here. You need to get paid a labor charge. Now, people go, well, Tom, how do you know how much to charge? Well, honestly, to me, it depends on what you're doing. I can tell you that standard labor charges in most areas of the United States are somewhere between, most of the time it's somewhere around 20% of the total of all the materials here. So, you know, if you're thinking about it technically, 20%, all right, so if you have $100, you're gonna, $100 arrangement, you're gonna get $20 in labor to assemble pieces and parts. Well, with permanent material, as I've shared with you here, it takes a lot more effort to, number one, to gather the pieces and parts. And that's what I love about Pioneer Imports and Wholesale, is that they've sort of taken the think. I don't have to go, oh, does this go with this? Or does this coordinate? Or, you know, you just look in their catalog and you go, wow, look at all these components that come under a particular title. And that way, then you know that they work, and you can go, this piece, this, and this, all are going to work well in whatever assemblage that you happen to make. So, you know, keep that in mind. That's a great resource that Pioneer Imports and Wholesale gives us. So we want to make sure that we're using it correctly. All right, so I'm going to make a hand bouquet here. And usually, you know, there's a couple different assemblages. Some people do a parallel with all the stems that just go like this. Others do the spiral technique. And that's sort of what I'm going to work on today, is crossing my stems in a spiral pattern. Now, I love the fact that I could just take that one portion of the bush and I can place that at one time. So it gives me multiple placements real quick and easy. Same thing here. I use those hydrangea to give me, again, contrast of form, contrast of color, lots of different materials mixed coming together. This is a little long with the garland, so I'm going to dissect that, bring that texture into the composition as we've talked about earlier. And you'll notice that the higher that I hold this in my hand, the tighter it becomes. So I'm going to pull my hand down just a little bit. Add in a little bit of contrasting material, a little bit of a different color harmony. And I like the fact that I can do this as a bouquet, or I can also do this, you know, bouquet meaning for a ceremony, but I can also make vase work done the same way. These gorgeous cabbage roses, bring those in to the sides here. Let's take a look. I'm a little soft on that side. Okay, this is starting to come together quite nicely. Now I've got some of the eucalyptus over here. I want to bring that over onto the opposite side, and you can see how this is starting to shape up. The balance is strong, meaning that I don't have one heavy color over on this side and nothing over on the opposite to balance it visually. So that's important, that it doesn't look like it's going to fall over because it's heavier on one side. Let's bring that hydrangea back in. I've got a little bit of grass on this side, and this is the piece that I cut off. I'm going to tuck that in just to give us that kind of free look. If you were doing a fresh, this could be lily grass, it could be bear grass, a number of different materials just to give us that freedom and that light and airy look. All right, so we can see it's all assembled. I like the way that it's coming together. And now I'm going to secure my bouquet.